Okay. What I get you to do is just get into a comfortable position. You can sit or lie down, whatever feels most comfortable for you. But when you're sitting or lying down, just make sure you're in an upright or straight position so that your back is nice and straight. And first we want to drop down and release our shoulders. You know, you can give them a squeeze up and just drop them down. Just let them relax and release. Release the jaw and the brow. And if it feels comfortable for you, gently closing the eyes. If it doesn't feel comfortable to close the eyes, then just lowering the gaze into the lap so that you can go within. And we're going to begin by taking 3 deep breaths together, and we'll breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as we breathe out, just allow the body to release and relax. So breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, and breathing in through the nose. And as you breathe out through the mouth, releasing, relaxing, letting go of your day and coming into this present moment. And just allowing the breath to return back to its regular breathing pattern. Just focusing on the breath for a few moments now. Noticing where you can feel the breath the most in the body and watching it flow in and out. We're not trying to change the breath in any way. We're just being the observer and using the breath to anchor us into this present moment. So following the breath now for a few moments. And if you notice that the mind has wandered away, releasing that thought or worry that has arisen and bringing the mind, the focus back to the breath. I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. And just letting go of the breath now. And I'd like you to bring to mind a memory from today or this week that has elicited a strong emotion in you. Bring that memory to mind now and just review it on the workbench of the mind. So going back there and just going through what happened and how you felt. And I'd like you to recognize what emotion is present. As you bring it to mind, give it a label. Did anger arise? Was it worry or sadness? Whatever it was, just acknowledging that now and allowing it to be present with you. And just repeating the following sentence by filling in the blank with your emotion you felt. I am feeling the emotion of, right now, and being present with it in this moment. And as you become more fully aware and present with this emotion, I want you to check into the body. And I want you to notice where this emotion is sitting. Where in the body can you feel some type of discomfort? It might feel like a tightness or a heaviness or a thudding, gurgling, a swirling. Just noticing where it is and what it feels like. And just repeating the following sentences and fill in the blanks. I feel the emotion of, in my, where is it in the body? And it feels like, describing what it feels like, tight, heavy. And let's just sit in recognition of this feeling and where and how it sits within us. Taking the time to accept what is here with us by saying to yourself, I accept that I am intensely experiencing the emotion of right now. And I'd like you to embrace this feeling like you're a mother holding a baby that is crying, and hold yourself and this emotion and say, even though the emotion of is here with me right now, I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And as you hold yourself in this moment with empathy and understanding, watch how the emotion changes. Watch its ebb and flow. Maybe coming stronger one moment and the next releasing and weakening. Nothing is permanent. Everything is flowing and moving. So just notice how this emotion is shifting when we acknowledge it, when we accept it, when we sit with it. And at first it may be confronting, it may be overwhelming and a little scary. But the longer you sit with it and hold it, embracing it and caring for it, the easier it will be. And as you continue to sit with this emotion, I want you to investigate by asking yourself, why is this emotion causing me discomfort? When this situation occurred and I felt this emotion arise in me, what belief about myself did I have? What belief about myself allowed this emotion to arise? What is hiding under this emotion? And as you ask yourself these questions, just sit in stillness and see if any answers or other memories arise. We aren't trying to force anything. We're just trying to be the detective to see if we can find some answers to our discomfort, to the reason why our emotions arise, and why we behave in the ways we do. And as you continue to look deeply within, just noticing if you're receiving any insights about why the emotion presented itself to you. And if something does arise, make sure to acknowledge it. And can acknowledge it by saying, "No wonder this sadness is here so strongly right now, as this memory takes me back to my childhood when I was bullied and made to feel worthless." And if nothing arises, that is perfectly okay, as it takes time for the answers to come to the surface. Don't try to force it. Just being present with the as is. However, the next time you're in meditation, maybe take some time to revisit this memory, this emotion, how it felt in the body, and continue with the investigation of what childhood memory is this emotion linked to. And how does this truly make me feel? What belief do I have about myself when I feel this? Understanding your emotions and where they sit in the body is one of the key awareness practices that will help you with your emotional self-regulation. This will allow you to parent from a place of openness instead of a place of hurt. Take the time this month to look after yourself, look after your emotions and understand them. As when you do this, you can then parent from a place of presence and become the awakened parent. It is now time to return back to this time and space. So taking a deep breath in and letting it out through the mouth. And as you let go, release any residual memories and emotions that you were just working on. And we'll take another deep breath in together, breathing in and letting go, releasing, letting that go. And in a moment, you'll hear the sound of the bowl. And when the bowl ends, this will signify the end of our practice together. And you can gently awaken the body with movement and open the eyes.
Okay, we're all taking it in. Thanks, Amanda, because that meditation is the reason why we step into that awakenedness, because I don't know if anyone felt it, but as you're asking yourself those questions, there is a deeper knowing and something starts to show up. And so if you continue to practice that, listen to this mindfulness or that that guide that Amanda has done for us tonight, because each day when you start to witness and question yourself, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? You'll realize that every time you're getting triggered by your child, it's actually your childhood. You're still stuck in a loop. You're still stuck in the pattern. And until you're ready to forgive or to nurture it or to, hold the inner child that is still in pain, then it'll be very difficult to step out of that reactiveness that is still burning within you. So I want to read this beautiful poem. Just as we are teachers, we're also students. And so our favorite mentor is Dr. Shivali Sabari. And she has this poem which is called Our Children, Our Awakeners. So I will read it and just see how it sits with you. So in my illusion, I thought I was going to raise you to be whole, complete and worthy, to be educated, kind and wise, to be a leader, empowered and free. I was deluded to think I knew it all. Fooled by my age and might, I thought I had it all together, ready to teach, inspire and change you. Only now, after so many moments with you, do I realize how foolish these ideas were, how baseless and grandiose. I now understand that it's you who is here to teach me, to guide, lead, shift and elevate, to transform, awaken and inspire me. I now realize how I had it wrong, upside down and outside in. It is you who are this perfectly designed clarion to wake me up to my true self. And that's pretty much sums it up. Our children are the awakeners. And, to have a child, I don't think you realize it's your greatest personal development course. You don't have to sign up and do courses. The child is the teacher. So every time you get annoyed, it's actually a moment for you to go, oh, there's something I need to work on, because it's not them. They're just reflecting back to you where you need to grow up. And, I always say that we're still children stuck in adult bodies. So that means we're parenting as a child. Like that's mind-boggling. We're still 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds trying to parent our kids the same age. So it's trying to step into the adult self and realize that the adult self is the one that actually sees, I need to do the work on myself. This has nothing to do with the child. It's my reality, it's my projections, it's my illusion that I'm getting lost in. So the question that we posed, if anyone read the blog, we talked about how do we stay motivated to practice mindfulness during these times of discomfort and become an awakened parent. And, now that we're in June, we had a full-on month. We were all together tight with our family. And now a lot of the children might be going back to kinder, or they might be going to creche, or they're going back to school. Some are still hanging at home with us. A lot of us are still working from home, or with some of us have thought, I like this homeschooling. I might, make this my new reality. But what we've noticed is that it is about being present, and it's about accepting that this is my present reality. And I have to find new ways to deal with the challenges I'm facing. You can't go back to the past. It's not going to be what it was. And there's no point spending the energy thinking about what the future will be. So this has taught us the only safest place right now maybe is the present moment, because you can control the way you show up, how you decide to respond to the conditions, what's in front of you. So the art of it is detaching yourselves from the emotional charge. Okay, so we use the term non-attachment. And it's recognizing that we are all getting triggered by these belief systems that have been inbuilt or programmed in us since we were little. And so until we can step away from those beliefs and say, well, is that true for me? No, it's not true for me anymore. I don't really believe that anymore. Or question it, like, where did this come from? Is it religious? Is it cultural? Is it a gender belief? Is it a belief that I have around my role as a mother, as a father? Until we can shed them and strip it back like an onion, peel it, we're going to be stuck in there. So it's learning about to be present with any difficulty and discomfort, and learning to lean into it. And as Amanda said before, create a space, just open it up and really go, wow, what's going on here? There's some pain that I'm holding on to, some hurt, some trauma. And I don't have to own it anymore. I need to hold the inner child within me and say, it's okay. Because if you understand, we talk about the term ego, the false self, the shadow. It's there to, it has been there since we were little. We sort of created it. Whatever we felt our parents couldn't give us, the ego stepped in. So it's this inner psyche that sits within us. You can actually witness it as you're meditating. You might hear a lot of talking. Why are you doing this? Don't waste your time on this. Don't you want to go and watch Netflix? Or it's a very judgmental, it berates, it might be very snickering, it will be shaming. You can hear it. It's not your normal state of being. It feels uncomfortable. That's your ego, okay? It believes itself to be grander than everyone else, okay? And then you've got your inner child. Your inner child's, I need my mom, I need my dad. It's still crying. It's still stuck in this rut. And the ego steps in to protect it like the bodyguard. It's like, don't worry, I got your back. This is how it's going to roll, you know. And so it comes across as like, the kid should do this. This is what we'll do. You know, everybody's wrong. You become like, you play the victim card. The inner child's the victim, and the ego, you know, tries to stand up. So step one is understanding the behavior. And so the awakened parent, to step into this role, is to understand that most of us have been raised from a hierarchical style of parenting. And it's like we looked to our parents, and it was like, you respect us because we're older and wiser and we've lived more than you, so you do as you're told. And that ego, that sort of image of that mother and father that we've been raised by, it's stuck in us. And so these belief systems are replaying in our head of how we think it should be. And now it's time to become aware and just go, is this the life that I want to do? Do I want to put this on repeat? And then have my kid going through this moment where they're sitting with a group of people going, why are we so reactive? Because we weren't taught emotional literacy, weren't we? We spent our life going to school. It was all about academic performance, how you show up in the world, you know, follow the ladder, follow the path of success. What is success? I don't know. But it's like, this is the path you have to follow because this is your culture and this is what you're going to do. And now we're just like, I don't think that sits with me. I don't know why, but there's something that feels, I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to shout. I don't want to punish my kid and send him to the naughty corner and do this timeout. It just doesn't feel right. And it's because that's, oh, hi, Ben and Jen. That's not where you come from. I mean, if you understand from a very spiritual level, we're all connected to source, to love, to energy. There's a divine love within us. That's our purest state of form. And anything outside of that is the ego. It makes us uncomfortable. It's the matrix. It's the illusion that has been created in this reality. So, and those triggers and those childhood fears have come from a place where we felt we didn't belong. We thought we were going to be abandoned. We felt the least loved. We felt unworthy. We felt unaccepted. So what happens? We get stuck in this emotional ball, like a bubble. And every time our child does something, it feels like it's getting poked, like it's against us, but it's not really. Our child are like the glitch in the matrix. They're saying like, wake up, change, you need to do something. But we don't realize, we're like, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm the adult and you have no right. But look at this, every time you get triggered and there's a glitch, wake up and go, ha, this is the moment where I need to awaken. This is the moment where I might have to meditate. I might have to find my breath and go deep. Where has this come from? Where has this come from? And so when you can witness those different facades of the ego, it might be coming across as very self-absorbed. It might look as controlling. It might be argumentative. It might come through contempt, like blaming others. You can't accept responsibility. Then you start to go, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this repeat. And it's not about the children. They don't need to change. I need to change. I need to grow up. I can't parent from the ego and the inner child. This is not working. This is all false. So the adult self comes from a place of love, unconditional love, and it sees it from the way of compassion. It sees it in empathy. It sees it from a place of patience, non-judgment. And so that awakening of the false self, it doesn't mean that we don't like it. We actually befriend it and say, ha, I see you, ego. I know that you're angry because you feel that the inner child within me has been mistreated or never heard. But it's okay. You can step out the way, and this is how it's going to work now. I'm going to listen to my child's point of view. I'm going to validate their feelings. I'm going to coach myself. I'm going to self-regulate before I step in. I'm going to get into a place of calm and composure before I open my mouth. Because if I don't, then I'm just going to damage. I'm going to say words that will sit with my child and make them feel like they're not worthy. They're lesser than. And that's not what it's about. Awakened parent is almost like side-by-side journey. It's not me grander than you. It's not the egoic side. So we do the way.
One little point there, Suzanne.
Yeah, go for it.
Just and be aware that you are going to make mistakes. We make mistakes, and it's not about not making mistakes. It's about learning from that mistake, and then letting your child know that you have made a mistake. Say, oh, look, you know what? I was in such a foul mood. I was so tired. I was hungry, and I took it out on you by yelling at you. You know, you don't deserve me to treat you in that way, and I'm sorry that I yelled. You know, it's not that we're if they've done something wrong or done something that needs to be told, you know, that's not, you know, don't hit your sister or whatever it might be. We can still discipline that, but when we discipline from a place of anger and frustration and yelling, that's what we're apologizing for, the behavior. We're not apologizing for there is a consequence for your behavior. We're apologizing for the way we show up and react in that. So just be aware of that, this journey is not easy, and to become this awakened parent, you need to let go of a bit of judgment on yourself and a bit of harshness and stuff like that. So, you know, give yourself a break and just say, okay, yeah, I'm owning up. I made a mistake. Let me apologize to you, because it really is, our words have such power, and the way we interact with our children, unfortunately for us, children's brains from 0 to 7, what they do is they create these belief systems which don't make any sense when you look at them as adults, around little things that we say, little things that people do. It could be like, a prime example is I've noticed my daughter, when my husband, the first thing was my eldest daughter, when my second daughter was born, she was a preemie and she was in hospital, and I spent a lot of time obviously at the hospital with her for 5 weeks. Shortly after that, I think Tyler was about 3 months old. Yes. So 5 weeks in the hospital, came home for, you know, about a month and a half. And then her dad left to go overseas for a deployment for 6 months. Dylan's concept of that was, I'm not wanted, I'm not important because mum's left me and now dad's left me. That wasn't the case at all. She didn't see that any chance I got, I tried to play with her. Any chance I got, I took her to the hospital with me. Any chance, because I knew in the back of my mind, she's going to feel abandoned. So I was trying everything I could do for that not to occur. But it's just recently come to light, she is holding that belief about herself that I'm not important because of this childhood memory. And so it's really interesting that when we are in life, that we start acknowledging those little things that might seem very insignificant or little at the time, but for a child it actually creates this huge belief that then we carry on for the rest of our lives. So if you do notice, when you leave a conversation or a discussion or whatever it is with your child, have a think about the idea of, what belief has my child just taken away about themselves? And if it's something that you think, I don't want them to have that about themselves, go and say, you know, you are very important to me, but I have to do work right now. And just because I'm doing work doesn't mean that you're valued any less. Because I say to my kids all the time, I don't have time right now, I'm doing my work. And then when I think about it afterwards, they're going to think, oh, I have no value, I'm not important. So I need to make a very clear distinction and say, you are valuable, you are important, but right now my attention needs to be on this, so they don't create that belief around themselves.
That's powerful, because yeah, that is about breaking the cycle, because that's probably what's happened to us when we were shunned away or told, you know, you can't do this, or, you know, I don't have time for you. We started to build that I'm not worthy, I need, and so that's what happens. We start to become needy and seeking outside for validation. Like, it's like, oh, you know, so it's definitely inbuilt when we're little. So the first step is just recognizing, practice awareness of our reality. So that's breaking the cycle, is step 3, because when you can actually, like last month, I wore it on my top, relax, accept the as is, you know, just be present with what's showing up and realize I can't change this and control it. It just is. Like, I just need to accept this is what's happening. And so I just need to find a different way to respond, because there's no point me projecting this is how it needs to be and you're getting upset. You're just going to butt heads. You just have to sort of drop your guard and just go, surrender to the moment and go, okay, this too shall pass. Because it just keeps evolving. It's ebb and flow. It's cause and effect. So, you know, even if a kid does have a tantrum that goes for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it's going to end, but it's just in that moment, it feels hard. And I always find that when those moments that are starting to make us uncomfortable, that's the moment to really step into the breath, go inward and check in and realize this has got nothing to do with me. Detach, let it go. The child's having their moment. It's nothing about me. And you're just the witness. It's like when you see a storm, you put your umbrella up and you wait for the storm to pass. That's basically what's happening. Or as we read last month, Rumi's The Guest House, you know, we realize that our emotions are visitors. They come in, they come out. That's it. The only reason they stick around a little bit longer is because we're holding a belief around them, or we're feeling that it's true for us. But if you just watch the visitor come in, come out, that's it. You don't give it the energy that it needs. So breaking the cycle, this is the game changer, because this is where you're caught. This is the moment where the glitch comes into play. And then you can say, right, I can have a choice now. I can keep replaying the old belief and keep having this loop and the same argument, the same sort of debacle, or I can step out and go, step away from it and hold the space. Mindfulness is creating a space between the stimuli and then coming up with a more responsive state of being. And the responsive state of being can be just equanimity, which is just learning to be calm and composed and having a state of clarity coming from this part, the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making, the thinking, rather than the emotion back end, which is a reptilian style of the brain where it's just reactive. It's on fight and flight. So behind the breaking the cycle is also witnessing as you are parents, recognizing, have I done anything to fill up my cup today? Because I must be really depleted. Like, if I'm just like losing it, like flipping it all the time, what work can I do to break the cycle of feeling depleted? Because that's the number one killer of our energy. Why we're not showing up is because we are just so flat. We're thinking coffee is going to fill us up, but it's not. It's doing the intrinsic work of self-care, self-love, doing the self-healing, doing the self-reflection, and making that the discipline. And when people say like to discipline, I don't even think it's about disciplining the child. I actually think it's about the parent disciplining themselves to self-regulate. And then you create boundaries, or you create principles of how we live, you know, learning to find their own inner compass of what's right and wrong. Because you know what's right. Like, there's this inner knowing that tells you that doesn't feel right for me. You know, and it's teaching your child how to get to that place of knowing what's right and wrong. And then step 4 is the self-regulation. So once you can witness that your emotions and all your thoughts and beliefs, that's all they are. They're not true. They're just constructed reality within your brain. Everything that you're going from is from past experience. It's all been inbuilt. So even though we see all these props around us, we all created our own realities. Everyone's having their own reality. But it's understanding that you can now use your self-regulation, getting to a place of, where do I need to be right now to see what's really happening? And we talked about it last month. Become the detective. Let go of this feeling like you've got to fix and control it. Just be the detective. Use factual. Oh, that's what's happening now. This is what's happening. These are the facts. Because when you start to go with fact, your brain is good with that. It goes, oh, okay, I've got some information here. It's a bit more logical. But when you start throwing in these words like, oh, this really annoys me, and you start giving emotion charge to it, then you're just gone off the radar. But if you can just go, oh, that's unpleasant, this is pleasant, your brain doesn't know where to put those words. It just thinks, okay, she or he has it under control, seems pretty calm. Then you can sort of take the space to go, all right, now this is what I'm going to do next. And you take baby steps. And as Amanda said, you will fall off the bandwagon. And that's why we do this, you know, to become awakened. We are always tapping into our consciousness. We're always waking up, checking in. What's happening right now? What's happening right now? Being present, being present, being present. Because if you're not, and you're in the past or the present future, I'm sorry, if you're in the future or in the past, then you're not in the state of being awakened. You're unconscious. You're being in a mindless state of being. So the great tools that we talk about is bringing attention to the breath, naming and claiming what feeling is arising. So when something shows up, oh, anger is here for me right now. Oh, I can feel there's a bit of anxiety. There's a bit of stress going on for me. Then your brain goes, now we've labeled it. Now we can tame it. We can mold it and form it and then just release it. We take ownership. This is happening for a reason. Every moment that happens in your life, you co-created it. You can't deny that you don't have any ownership. You have co-created it. And whether it's for a lesson because you haven't learned the lesson, or maybe it's for your own awakening, to connect with your child rather than correct them, it all happens for some reason, okay? So it's checking into the body, it's accepting what we're feeling and allow it to flow through. So as Amanda talked about before, we can't teach how to self-regulate our kids how to do it unless we're not willing to do it ourselves. So we need to model this every day, like a discipline. Because when we start to model it, they see us doing it and they're like, oh, okay, this is the way it works. Because it's hard for them to teach at schools. There's a lot of schools that haven't caught up with mindfulness. So the only way it's going to work is that one of you or both of you take on the role of practicing mindfulness and owning up. I'm really annoyed right now. Like, you know, let your kids see that, acknowledge it, validate it, because they need to know that we're humans, that we do lose it, that we do express our emotion, we do have a cry, we get angry, we do raise our voice. It's all part of this human experience. But we also need to take responsibility that we can't be in a reactive and angry state all the time. We need to then step into the place of the essence, coming back to heart center and realizing, okay, how can I come from the soul? How can I parent from a consciousness, a different state of being? And then 5, we're viewing our children as the motivation. You're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your children, you know, because, you know, you've got 7 generations of trauma that you're hanging on to. Yeah. So when you start to put a line in the sand and say, okay, what was. I can tell for myself, I was raised by 2 styles of parent. My mother was the nurturer from the essence. My father was the ego, came from that discipline is very important. And I'm just like, I can always look at him and laugh and go, I know I chose you for a reason, to see the contrast. And I forgive you, and I know that you're still a little boy stuck in your 70-year-old body. And I get that. And I don't hold a grudge against my parents. I know I chose them for a perfect reason, because this motivates me now to say, you know what, I'm going to break that style, that cultural way of raising my kids. And now I make a choice to do it this way. So that motivates me, because I know that in the long term, my children are going to understand how to self-regulate, how to connect, become a professional human being, to become an awakened person, to understand that outside in the world, you're going to meet lots of different personalities, and this is the way you cope. Don't get caught in the drama. Don't get caught in the matrix. And I really want to talk to you quickly about the mothering role. I just love Dr. Chevalier, and I've been watching her viral wisdom talks for the last 52 days. And the one that hit me the most was, it was day 31. She talked about the role of the mother and the mothering. And even though Carlos is with us, it still applies to fathers and all that as well. And she talked about, it's really interesting, we have this idea of I'm a mother. Well, think about it. When you talk about I am a mother, it's actually quite limited. It's actually quite an egoic way of being, because all of a sudden you're going to, I'm your mother and you need to do this. It's actually identifies by a role there's almost like this control around it. But she was talking about, if you want to step into the essence, it's called mothering. And I love that, because even though you may not be a biological mother, you can still be mothering. A grandma could be mothering. All of us have the capability of mothering children, coaches, teachers, mentors, children, adults without children, whoever, anyone that looks after something, after nature, after pets, after their friends, after their colleagues, after their family members. We are all mothering. And the mothering, I loved it because it's connected to the essence of who we are. It's all about nurturing. It's all about blossoming. It's about looking after the other, mothering ourselves, looking after our needs. And I thought that's really powerful, because we get so caught up with this idea, when I become a mother, it'll all be like this. And then we disappoint ourselves straight away, because we realize, well, that's not what I thought it was going to be. But if you step into the role of mothering, it's so soft, it's so beautiful. Like, it's got, I look at my cats, I'm mothering them all the time, you know, and it's just like, you naturally have it in you to look after the other. But it takes that ego image out. It drops the identity, and it steps into the essence, into that soul, to that mother Gaia sort of way of being. And it's all about connection, containment. It's about connecting to the child on a mothering level. So understand that I don't need to control you and hover you. I just allow you to spread your wings, and then your child does it back to you. So it's a give and take. It's almost like we don't become the teachers, we're the students, and it vice versa. And it just drops that whole ego, and it steps into a softer state of being. So I think it's this month, it really is about, if you want to step into that truest, that highest form of you, that highest self of you, then the awakened self, or the awakened parent, it's about understanding unconditional love. So it's dropping that transactional sort of way of being. If you don't do this, you don't get that. It's letting go of that, and just realizing that you're here having your journey, and your child's having their journey, and it's a side by side. It's not you greater than them, or them being lesser than you. Yes, they may be 4 or 5, but my goodness, they are switched on. Why? Because they're so present with the as is. They don't hold the grudges. They move on very quickly. And I think if we as parents can be curious about how they do that and learn from them, then you're going to have this beautiful interconnectedness of a relationship, rather than one being greater than the other and superior, because that's not what awakened parenting is about. It's awakening to yourself and saying, the parent, I need to do a lot of work on myself. I'm 5 years in, and I'm still going, you know, I'm still trying to unlearn what I've been learning. Yeah, it's everything I've learned as a little kid, I'm trying to unlearn it. And so that's what it is about us. We need to keep unlearning those old beliefs, unraveling those old belief systems that don't sit with us, and just connecting to what is true for us. So that's it. It's about going inside out and letting go of the outside or the external world determining how we show up, switching that off and saying, what is true for me? And you know what feels true for you, because it'll feel light. If anything feels heavy, it's not your truth. It's a belief that you've been programmed to believe. And so it's stepping in, do your meditation, and it'll start to show up. Do your journaling, learn to have quiet time, because there's a lot of distraction around us, and that's escapism. But if you can learn to sit and go within, all the answers are there. So yeah, I don't know if Amanda wants to say any more, but that's pretty much all our blog in a huge version.
I don't think there is any more to say. You covered everything. I guess what we do now is we open up the floor. Yeah. So if you have any questions about the meditation, or questions about what Suzanne was discussing, then you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask your question. If you have another concern that you want to raise, that's something that's happening with your child or with yourself, you can raise those also. Our 3 sort of, I guess, how we see our business or how we see our company is the overview is we want to bring everyone awareness. And how do we bring that awareness? We bring that through mindfulness, through self-care, and through parenting with presence. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a parenting as such topic. It could be something that's personal or something that you're working on that you might like some insight to. Obviously, what Suzanne and I say, we don't go, this is how it is, this is what you should do. It's more of a mentoring role that we try and step into and share the knowledge that we have that may awaken you to something within yourself. And as Suzanne said, some of the stuff we might be saying here tonight might feel really heavy for you. And if it does, release it. Say, no, I'm not taking that on. But if it feels light, then go into it and do some work with it and see where that takes you.
One of the things that I know that, happened a lot in my childhood, and I also don't necessarily want to have to do with a child. He's 9 and comes from a trauma background. He's been getting really mouthy lately, which is great because it means he's comfortable with us. But it also, means that oftentimes when we're sitting there going, now, darling, don't, that's not what you should be doing. He goes to a place that's really quite spiteful and often quite aggressive. And oftentimes the only way that we can get him to comply, but, might be going to bed or whatever it might be, is to threaten to take something away with all that he, and it's never anything that he needs. It's things that he wants to do. I don't necessarily want to go to that punitive. And so I guess I'm asking for if you've got any insights into other ways of perhaps being able to move him through that to a place other than perhaps just waiting it out, because I've done that before, and that's not always possible given time constraints.
Yeah. Look, it's not easy, and I have the same issues with my kids of having to have a consequence. Sometimes we do have to have that. I guess how I go about it is I have a family discussion, and we make up the boundaries together so that everyone's aware of what the boundaries are and everyone's aware of what the consequences are if we break beyond those boundaries. And I think having it as a joint discussion with your child, obviously if you've got little kids, it's a little bit different. But with the older kids that can be part of the discussion, it's about sitting down and saying, okay, these are the values we hold in our house. And one of them might be our health. And under health comes that we need to eat certain foods and we need to sleep, whatever it might be. So you have your main topics of what you value in your house. And then under that, you have your subtopics of things that I guess you want to discuss in relation to them, I guess, complying to what you need them to do.
Yeah.
And okay, so then you obviously, maybe you and Steve can set the guidelines for that and have the structure of what you want to discuss. But then what you do is you say, okay, you explain to him why that's a value in your house. And you explain then, and ask them why they think it's important also to get sleep or to eat proper food, nutritious food. And if they're saying, I don't know, and say, well, what would happen if you didn't get sleep? Talk about the things that could go wrong for them. Talk about the negatives of not having that in your life. And then when you talk about showing the reasons why and showing the reasons why not, then work around saying, okay, well, now we need to, because this is a value in our house, we need to have a boundary around it. We try, I guess it's rules in a sense, but if we can go to boundaries, then it sounds a little bit different and it doesn't sound like a dictatorship. And then you can discuss with them, well, what do you think's a reasonable bedtime? And you can discuss that, and he might say 10 o'clock. And you might say, so you go the opposite end and you say like 6:30, and then you can work towards a time that you really feel. You've got to do a little bit of tricking here also. But what we're doing is we're giving them the power to feel like they're part of the decision making and part of, being responsible for themselves and having some control over that you know what they can do in the household, which we all want. We just want control.
Yeah, and I'm totally aware it's a control issue for most of the time. But how we get out of that.
Yeah, so then once you've made that boundary, you can say then, okay, so we're just on weeknights because you've got school, so that'll be Sunday to Thursday. We'll confirm that bedtime's going to be at this time. And whatever, and then on the weekends we'll discuss something different, so you can have different things. Doesn't all have to be the same. And then what you say is now if this boundary isn't met, then you're breaking, you're not abiding or not following one of our family values, and so we need to put in, I guess, some type of consequence or some type of way to help motivate us to see the value in that boundary. And you can ask them, what do you think should be? What do you think it should be? And obviously most of the time what we want to try to do is to have the boundary relatable to what the issue is. So if it's, I don't want to eat something, and then we'll have to say, well, if you don't eat nutritious food, then those sometimes foods might have to be taken away, might not be able to be eaten, or whatever it is, because that relates to that situation. And I know it's not like we have to eat all our dinner. Maybe it might be that we have to at least try the different vegetables or whatever, whatever your boundaries are, you make them that suits your family, and have the consequence and make that a discussion between them. I always do this with my kids of saying, okay, well, if you don't get off your screen at the allocated time, that's because ours is always usually around screens, what is going to be the consequence for that? And so we'll say, okay, next time we're on screens, we get less time. So instead of getting our hour, we only get our half an hour. Or if we complain when we get off our screens and like, I want more time and blah, 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 and there's disruption, then what happens is we miss out on our next allocated screen time. So I've set that up with the kids. So they've made those boundaries with me. They know what they are. And all I say to them is when it is that time for bed or time to get off screens, I'll say, it's time to go to bed, it's time to get off screens, whatever it is. If they start arcing up, if they start complaining, I'm not getting into a discussion with you about this with you. You know what the boundary is and you know what the consequence is. You are now making the choice of what you want. You can choose to make the choice of going to bed and then getting whatever it is, or you can choose not to go to bed and then you miss out on whatever it is that you get for going to bed. So it's not ideal having reward systems unless they're intrinsically motivated for them. So finding something that motivates them to want to go to bed. So it could be, if you go to bed, then in the morning you get to watch your favorite TV show. I don't know, so they're intrinsically wanting to go to bed because they know that then they get to get something that they want more than going to bed. Bed's a really hard one to get them to go and stuff like that. Yeah. And I guess what the most important thing is when they do have the outbreak and do have the thing is try not to engage in it. Try not to, fire it up. And just say, we use the technique of asked and answered. So if they're saying, why can't I stay up? It's not fair. You get to say you give them the reason at the start. It's time for you to go to bed because you've got school tomorrow. You give them the stats. Statistics say that children of your age need 10 hours sleep. They need 10 hours sleep so that your body can rest and heal, so that your brain can recharge, so that you can focus and concentrate and learn better for the next day. Give them all the stats. That's what's really important. Educating them why this is a requirement. Doesn't mean that they're going to like it, but at least you've got something to go to when they arc up and say, we've discussed it. These are the reasons why you need to go at this bedtime. This is the boundary that we've made. And that's it. And then they'll say, that's not fair. I don't need to go. You shouldn't be making me go. Or, you know, I'm not going. What are you going to do about it? And you say, I'm not going to do anything about it. You know what the consequence is. And so we're just saying, we're sitting there and they keep asking the question, do I have to go to bed? Or I don't want to go to bed. Asked and answered. That's all I say. I don't engage. I sit with them and I be with them. I don't push. And this may take a week or two for them to decide, okay, mum's not going to change. I've tried this, you know, for 3 days now or 4 days now or 5 days now. She's not engaging. I'm not getting anything out of this, because part of why they battle is because they're trying to elicit a connection of some sort with you. And if you're not engaging in that, then there's no battle for them. There's like, oh, this is boring. There's no need for this. I might as well go to bed. Then at least I get my TV show in the morning or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Look, so unfortunately, I have no magic wand for this. I am still trying lots of tools and techniques with my kids, but as they arise and things work, I will definitely bring them to the table of these meetings.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, you mentioned him before, he's just having a bit of the way he speaks. Is he speaking back or something? Is he a bit?
Yeah. There's been a little bit of disrespect.
Yeah.
And it's quite personal, you know, like
personal attacks. Okay, so personal attacks. That's the ego. So he's coming from a place of ego.
Very much so.
I'm gonna do.
And it's fear based.
Totally different take to this, but I 100% agree with Amanda with what she's saying. I think it's great to sit as a family and probably even make a poster, like get him involved. What are our family values? Or Amanda's got the crest, don't you? You like have
I made a family crest.
Our values. You can find templates of that. I have done a lot of work on myself probably the last couple of months, because, you know, as they get into the tween age, they do try to swear and test you out. And I was getting triggered. And I'm like, why am I getting triggered? I did a little bit of work on myself. And I mean, I'm on a different level because I'm now hitting to a different state of understanding that everything has no meaning. It's a meaningless world. So I'm almost to the understanding that all these words that we speak, it's just human language, but nothing means, everything means nothing and nothing means everything. So I can almost get into that understanding that, okay, this doesn't have to trigger me, because I understand now that my home is the safest place that these children have, right? And so anything outside, there's enough rules out there. You go to school, oh my gosh, how many rules they have, respect, and they've got, you know, sit with the way you are and all that. And I found that lately, my daughter does test me, and I was getting really triggered because she was saying a few words, but I'm coming from the place of essence. When I was arguing or getting, feeling retaliated, it was my ego. My ego's like, she shouldn't talk like that to you. And then I started going, hang on, these are just words. She actually looks forward to come home because it's the collapse. It's like this restraint. She's held herself together and she's like, and then she comes home and this is her safe space. So I've got to the place where if I hear it, I don't take it personally. I just let it come out, like, look, whatever's blurting, because I understand now that that's not my child speaking. That's the ego within herself. So she's just breaking down whatever's in her, whatever she's held on throughout the day, and venting, and then it goes and it passes. And sometimes she'll actually apologize. I'm sorry I said that, Mum. And I always say to her, don't worry, that was not you. I don't define that moment around you. I just see it like it's just words. It's gone. Because I swear, I know I'm a potty mouth. I let it out all the time. So my kids hear me do it all the time. So who am I to expect them to actually not do it if I'm doing it quite openly? So that's because I'm at a different space where I've learnt those words. It's just words. I don't have any meaning around it. And she knows out there when she walks out the door, oh, she's got a, you know, this is a boxed world. Can't do this, you can't do that. But this is, for me, her safe space to be her true self. And I don't judge her. So I let her just say it. And I don't, for me, it just like flicks off. There's nothing, it's like a lets it go, and then we connect very quickly, because I don't let that language or that bother me. It's just like, doesn't affect me, because I've become so whole in completing myself that doesn't mean anything. It's just words for me. But that takes a long time. So for you, you need to sit on, why is that bothering you? Why is that triggering you? And maybe why is he doing that? Why is he feeling that he needs to get to those words to trigger you?
Yeah,
Like,
I've got a pretty
snowballs, right? Why does it happen? And you've got to understand their brains are still immature. They're just testing the world. They see these words, they hear the words, they're playing games, whatever it is. They're interacting in a different world. So the tweenie brain is opening up and go, oh, I've never heard this language before. They're testing us out. So it's almost like just having, I actually tell her, do you know that word means this? I actually give her the actual meaning, because sometimes she'll say something and I go, do you know what that means? And then she's, oh, I didn't know it meant that. So I'm almost to the level where we talk about, when you say that word, this is the actual meaning of it. That's slang and this is what it means. Like, I had that conversation with her because I know that she comes home and it's just her release. She just needs to get it out and then she's calm. And so her and I don't get upset. I just say it, just get it off you, because I know it's not directed at me. I just know she just needs to get it out of her system. It's like a venting, it's an energy shifter for her. And then she can be her truest form. I don't judge her. I just go, it's cool. Say it, because I know it's not directed at me. Just get it out and move on. I don't hold the grudge. She's processing, oh, I feel bad, I'm my bad daughter. No, you're not bad. We're all human. So what? You know, but she knows that when she goes out there, she has to be prim and proper, and, you know, she's creating a false self, really, because she can't be like that. We've got so many rules outside in the real world that we can't speak like that. But she knows when she comes home, Mummy's not going to be upset. I still roll my eyes and go, oh my gosh, because she knows how to put all the words perfectly in its adjectives and its verbs. But she knows that I will never, ever judge it. I'll try not to be from the ego. I always see it from the source, from the essence, and realize that's not you speaking, that's your ego speaking. Get it out of you, and now let's talk. And then we get back to where we need to speak. But she's just testing the waters. It's a phase for me. I don't see it's going to, you know, but it's new words. They're being exposed to stuff. But if you are really concerned about it, definitely have the conversation. Like, those words, when you say that, that's what it feels like for us, because he probably doesn't understand. And if he's been exposed to that, he probably doesn't know what the meaning behind where it's coming from. But it's 20 years are different. Like, I'm going through it right now. It's completely different to your childhood and your toddler years. Yeah. And I'm thinking that this is where you really grow up because things will trigger you. And I'm just checking in. Oh, why does that bother me? Oh, yeah, okay, that word triggers something within me. I wonder where that's come from. But the language, they're just being exposed to a lot more. They're growing up a lot quicker.
So something else, Naomi, just because I know the background of what's going on. Obviously, a child's behaviour, the way that they're responding and reacting, is their form of communication. So it's really, if we can start figuring out why he's behaving that way around bedtime, that might give insight to the behaviour, and then how you can alleviate the unmet need that's causing that behaviour. Yeah,
and we've changed things up a little bit with some advice from his therapist, and he, you know, we tend to spend a bit more time right before he goes to sleep. He likes to read before, you know, going to sleep, but we'll find he was getting up out of bed a lot, right, you know, and complaining that he couldn't sleep and things like that. So we did go up and spend sort of 15 minutes with him, just, you know, reading or hugging or whatever right before he goes to bed. It's worked a bit better, but there's still a lot of resistance around sleep, and I'm aware that it's a difficult time for him, where he feels most vulnerable, and it's where his brain, you know, he does a lot of distraction.
So are you finding he doesn't want to go to bed because he's reliving maybe
probably
worries and traumas and stuff like that?
Yeah, he wouldn't admit it, but I think it's probably he what he does say a lot is that what he will admit is physical stuff. Only a couple of times has he actually been able to pinpoint an emotion and say, actually, I'm feeling anxious.
Okay.
Mostly he will pinpoint something quite physical. I've got a bellyache, I've got a headache.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's stress, isn't it? Anxiety.
Correct. Yeah. So he's manifesting,
Yeah.
you know, these things within his body and
Mm.
expressing and his emotional turmoil through those things.
Yeah.
We are aware that there's a bit more going on through bedtime in general, but yeah.
I guess one other thing, a sort of a resource that you can use in relation to the worries and the anxieties that are sort of coming to a head before bedtime is something that my daughter's psychologist mentioned to me was about a worry box. And so what happens is, not at bedtime, because we don't want to obviously bring them up at bedtime, but maybe, you know, at 5 o'clock or before dinner or just after dinner, whatever time suits you, is you set up this box together. And what he does is he writes down all his worries from the day, from yesterday, from any worry that he has. He writes that's going on in his mind that he's thinking. And it's a way of him to release his worries. I mean, this is good for us to use, not just him, for us to use too. And so what he does is he's I'm worried about, writes it down, and sort of like he's getting it out of his mind, putting it on the paper, and then putting it in the worry box.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you can say to him at the end of the week, do you want to go through your worries and talk to me about them? Because you might start getting a bit more insight as to what is actually worrying him. And you might, because obviously it's very hard, as you said, for him to verbalize what's going on for him. He might write something on the paper that you're surprised about, like that he hasn't verbalized but was able to write it down. Or even if he doesn't like writing, maybe drawing pictures of his worries and putting them in the box. And obviously he's seeing a therapist, so he might be able to take that worry box with him to the therapist, and things that they can work on together also, so that everyone's sort of in the loop about it. And so that might help him start realizing, I can put my worries in there and I don't need to take them to bed. Obviously, setting up some type of routine for bedtime is essential. I don't know, my daughter, my daughter,
our lives are very routine based.
Yeah, my daughter really struggles with sleep also. That's one of our major issues. You know, I use essential oils in the bedroom. I have obviously low lighting. I put on meditations. Sometimes, you know, I'll sit with her and give her Reiki, or, you know, rub her back or whatever. So there's unfortunately,
You've got to find what works,
It's a lot of work, but I guess the thing is if you can put the work in for, you know, a good solid 6 months, maybe you'll see some differences, and then he'll feel more comfortable going to bed and spending that time by himself because he feels safe and he's released some of that trauma and worry. The hardest thing is because they hold it all inside, and as soon as bedtime comes, it all awakens for them. I can understand why they wouldn't want to go to bed. They want distraction. So I guess the key is find something that distracts him enough that he'll go to bed, whether it's music or, something that allows his mind to focus on something else instead of the worries.
Yeah,
hopefully something will help there, or alleviate it a little bit at least.
Cool, thanks.
All right, what time have we got, Suzanne?
8:24.
Oh, 8:24. That's gone fast. That's gone very fast. Has anyone else got anything quick that they would like us to address before we wrap up for the night? No, everyone's good? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to play. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to play the mantra. So as you know, at the end of our sessions, we just like to end with our parenting mantra, which is just about sending a blessing to ourselves, sending a blessing to our child, and then blessing that relationship with some positive affirmations. You're more than welcome to sing along in the background, but I'll play it for you and show you the words up on the screen so you can sing along. All right, so I'm just going to press play on this. No, it started. Where's it gone? May I be conscious in all my actions. Okay, it's coming back. Here it comes. May I be wise in all of my responses.
in all of our responses. May we be filled with love and kindness and compassion. May we be better connected to each other.